At this point, you're probably familiar with the Hassan may have shocked his dog on stream situation. It is literally the top of basically everything having to do with live stream fail right now. You can see here it is. There's one for Speed. I hope he's doing well. But then this one's about Hassan. This one's about Hassan. This one looks like it got removed. This one's about Hassan. This one's about Hassan. This one's about the Hassan situation. We'll look at this video later. This one's about Hassan. This one's about Hassan. You get the idea. There's another one's about Hassan. And then even ones that aren't about Hassan are people either defending or attacking Hassan. It's all anyone's talking about in the streaming world right now. And up front, I want to be clear about my bias. I watched the original clip and it really does look like he zaps her. But I want to be clear, I actually didn't think that he did at first. It was only later when I looked at the other clips and his response and just the way the whole situation was being talked about both by him and other people that really makes me think he did it. Not because of the clip itself, but we are going to watch it. And a bit of a warning up front, the dog does yelp. If you don't like seeing animals in pain, probably just skip this part.
But it is emblematic of all of America's much more consequential
the dog moves in the background.
Violence. Okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking...
And look, he's reaching for something. He looks over and he reaches for something.
Just stop.
And then she yelps.
Oh.
And then he kind of looks at her
Christ.
and then looks away.
What are you doing? You're being such a baby.
Then he calls her a baby.
It's just... You're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled.
And then he tries to deflect by assuring the chat that she is spoiled and has everything she could ever want. But it really does look suspicious when you look at this because he's there.
Kaya, please.
He gets mad at her. Then he reaches away. He's like reaching and looking away, reaching at something else down on his desk. And then she yelps right here with a little jump. And then she immediately lays back down. That seems a lot like a pattern of behavior where she gets up, she's shocked, and then she lays back down in order to avoid further shock. Now, obviously, Hassan is denying this because, of course, he is. And it's kind of understandable why. A lot of hate from this situation is coming from Asmon Gold in the H3H3 podcast communities who absolutely abhor Hassan's guts. This is a huge amount of ammo that's just been handed to them, whether or not it actually happened the way that they say that it did. This is something they're going to be attacking him about for years to come. So take all the criticism you see with a grain of salt. Those people are going to hate Hassan either way. It doesn't really matter whether or not he actually shocked the dog. This is just another thing that they're going to point to as to why. But really what they're doing is they start with, I hate Hassan, and then they're working backwards and finding reasons, including potentially this clip. What persuaded me, however, was not so much the clip itself, even though I think it does look kind of damning, but it was his response to this clip. After this happened, it was clipped and put on live stream fails, absolutely blew up, and this led to people seeing the clip and then going to his chat because he was still live. This immediately went viral, hit the front page of Reddit. And people going to his chat from the clip started harassing him. This is during the same stream. You can see that he's wearing the same shirt in this one and this one, and then this is what he has to say about the situation as people are coming in and attacking him for it.
To hear oral arguments on Thursday.
Oh my
we should
God.
Note that new CBS...
Is there like a fucking LSF video or something? Is that why there's like hella people coming in here and screeching? Is that what's going on? Oh, classic. Oh. It started on D, then H3, then LSF is the classic pipeline. I'm gonna fucking die, dude. Yes, I am incredibly abusive.
And the language and the words he uses here are very important, so listen to those.
Not only best trained, but also the best behaving and most spoiled dog on the planet is from when Kaya yelped. Yeah, she yelped because she fucking clipped herself on something when she was getting off the bed.
So that was his response. Basically, he didn't say anything, and to me, it comes off as a bit gaslighty. Instead of saying, no, I didn't shock her, I would never do that to my dog, he insists that he treats her well and that she is spoiled. And I'll be honest, I am armchair psychologist here, but abusers use the same language. They never say, I didn't hit her, because they did. They always say, I'm a good person, I treat her well, I provide for the family, she has what she needs, etc., etc. To be clear, clear, I am not saying that Hassan is an abuser in any capacity. I would never allege that because those are horrible scum of the earth people. But he's using the same language in this specific instance that those people do, and to me that comes across as suspicious. What's even more suspicious is that this right here is the perfect time to prove everyone wrong. All you have to do is when you see these people coming in and they're upset about the situation, thinking that you shocked her, you just take off the collar and show the chat right then and there that it's not a shock collar because there are no prongs on it. But he doesn't do that. Now, if you know what shock collars look like, they always have these two prongs here to be able to get through the dog's fur. Otherwise, the electricity would just be dissipated on the fur. It wouldn't actually do anything. Basically, every shock collar has these. So if it's not a shock collar, we wouldn't see these prongs here. And so this is the perfect situation to take off the collar, show everyone and say, hey, definitively and immediately, I'm dispelling any doubt that I shocked my dog. There is no way this happened. But he doesn't do that. He could have walked over, taken it off, shown the camera what it was, and that would have been it. Every reasonable person would have said, oh, it looked like it, but that was not the case. Instead, he has his mods immediately start banning anyone that mentions it. There are reasonable explanations for why a dog might yelp. Dogs yelp all of the time, but it's the being shady and refusing to show the collar immediately then and there that makes me think that it actually was a shock, because he's not taking the obvious, easy, and reasonable steps to prove that that's not what he did. In fact, when he does show the collar, it's not until the next day on his next stream, which makes it even more suspicious because you refuse to show the collar and then you wait a full 24 hours and then show the collar. And that's really sus. Either don't show it at all, saying that people will hate you no matter what you do or what you say, which I think would be suspicious, but I would also understand that argument, or show it immediately. I think his worst option was showing it the next day when he had time to modify the collar. And when he finally does show the collar, this is how he does it.
It has the capacity to vibrate.
And
that's it.
It's very important. He says it has the capacity to vibrate, and that's it.
Are you happy? That's it.
And here what we can see is when he shows this part of it, no prong. As you know, shock collars, essentially 9 out of 10 times, they have to have prongs.
That's it. Good. There's the air tag. There's the fucking vibrator. It also has a flashlight component to it at nighttime. And it also has a tracker on it when she gets lost. If she were to actually get fucking lost.
So that was his explanation for what it was, that it was a vibrate collar, not a shock collar. It doesn't have prongs. Except people noticed two things that were weird about this clip. First, obviously, was that it took him a whole day to show that. He didn't do it immediately when everyone was criticizing him for what looked like a shock. Instead, he waited a full 24 hours. The second thing people noticed, you'll see here, is this top comment. We blow it up. We get this. This looks an awful lot. If you crank up the brightness and the contrast, it looks an awful lot right here is tape. And I wish there was a better way to zoom in, but feel free to zoom in on your screen. But this looks a lot like tape is trying to hide something, possibly where the prongs were. And there was someone else that did a little more digging. And as you can see here, he says the contrast boosted to show the tape job to cover up the back side. It says the serial and model number inside are also taped over because there are two model numbers that the company this looks like actually makes. There's this one, which is the shocking kind with prongs. And then there's this one, which is the vibrate kind without prongs. Remember, he said it was a vibrate only function. He said there was no shocking ability on this. It only vibrates, except the one he has in his hand far more closely matches the one that actually shocks and not the one that actually vibrates. This person is put together. It says there are two charging ports at the top with dual prongs, and you can see this is taped over, and the charging port on the side for the vibration models with no prongs. But you can see that the charging port appears to be in the same spot as it is on the vibrating model. Then there are the holes on the two sides that look like they could be from the charging port right there. And then he matches the shock collar lights on the side, which look to be slightly different from the vibration collar ones that are on this side. This last one is a little harder to verify, but I think the big thing is the fact that one, it's taped over at all. If it wasn't taped over, we could see the model and serial number here. And two, the charging port being right there looks an awful lot like where the charging point is on here and not over on the side. We would expect it to be up there or maybe even down here. But instead, these look like shock collar prongs that are covered up, and this looks like the charging port. If he really didn't and wanted to prove that he didn't, all he had to do was take the tape off and show us the model and serial number on the bottom so that we could see what collar it is that Kaya is actually wearing day to day. Instead, he taped over it and hid that information, which again, I really suspect is because it's a shock collar and he's hiding it. But even without the easy to verify info we have here, it just physically matches the shock collar more than it matches the vibration model. And again, this is why I think he did it. Not because the dog yelped. It kind of maybe looked like it in the video, but because of how he's trying to cover it up. If he was innocent, there would be no tape. If he was innocent, he could have shown it same day. If he was innocent, this and that and so on and so forth. He's insisting he's innocent without actually proving he's innocent. And when he proves proves he's innocent, it's really suspiciously done and modified. And I'm not the only one who thought this. There was Lonerbox here who is talking about this specific situation, and this looks to be the shock collar that he has, and this is what he had to say when looking at them.
Closely match the ET300 Mini Educator half-mile remote e-collar, which does have shock prongs. It seems to match in shape, in the positioning of the charging port, in the texture of the plastic, unlike this one with the much more curvy light than the one Hassan has. This one, which is vibrate only, also has its charging point on the side. The one Hassan has the charging point in the middle, much like the shocking version, where the prongs that could deliver the shock are simply removable. You can just remove them. Or apparently, maybe, plausibly, ostensibly, cover them with black tape. That seems to be where we are now. Okay.
So he doesn't specifically make a conclusion there. He just says that it looks a lot more like the shocking collar than it does the vibrate one. But I think the top comment summarizes this pretty well. Why would he put electrical tape over it? The only reason I can think of is if he's trying to hide the fact that he removed the prongs. Because again, the vibration model, there's nothing to put electrical tape over. What would you even cover on this one? On this one, there's obvious things to cover. The prong holes and also the serial number. But on this one, there's nothing even on the back that you would want to tape up. And another person comes up with another even better point. If it was a vibrating collar, why not mention that even once yesterday? He said she clipped herself, but claims that it was a vibrating collar later. Why not show it to us yesterday? Exactly. Why lie about her nail getting caught? I think that's obviously, you can't know for sure if that was the case, but it really does seem like that was a lie because of all the other evidence we're seeing. He must really think his audience is dumb, blah, 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 and then he just kind of descends into ad hominem attacks. But it's so obvious that tape is being used, and that makes me think that it's a lie. And I think this clip by itself actually wouldn't even be that convincing, but it's this along with everything else that really makes me think that it actually was a shock collar. And to be clear, I think there are probably use cases for shock collars, especially if you live out in the country. I was talking about this to a friend, and he said when he lived in the country, they used invisible fences for their dogs because it kept them on the property, because it was much more dangerous for them to be off the property than it was for them to get a small shock to stop them from crossing a boundary. It's not something that I would ever choose or recommend, but if your options are my dog gets a small shock to keep him on the property, or he gets out into the road and possibly hit by a car or attacked by coyotes or shot by another farmer or trampled by horses, then it makes sense. I actually had a different friend who lived on a farm, had a dog, and the dog got out, dug under the fence, and got trampled by a horse. The dog lived, don't worry, but in that instance, you can see that a shock collar from an invisible fence would have been much more preferable to getting trampled by a horse, even though the dog survived. But in Hassan's case, he seems to be forcing Kaya to stay on this mat for like his 8 to 12 hour streams every day, as if she's some kind of prop, and then it would appear shocking her when she tries to leave. Now, up until recently, that was kind of all there was. I would argue there was a good amount of evidence, but to be fair, it was basically all speculation at this point. We only had his word against the word of internet detectives, which if you know what Pizzagate is, then you know are not always entirely reliable. But I think this clip is probably one of the most damning things. Cutie Cinderella, about a week later, is talking about the situation, and this is what she says.
So, what I had to say, I'm in his house, I looked at the collar is taped off.
So she confirms that it is taped, which is already damning, but listen to what she says next.
I think there would be prongs.
Where I think there would be prongs.
Yeah.
There's no zap. There's only a vibrate function.
Yeah. So I would agree to that. If
So it is a shock collar. The vibrate collar doesn't have prongs that you have to tape off. Only the shock collar version of that collar does. She's confirming that it is a shock collar, or at least was a shock collar at some point, which differs from what Hassan said. He said it only vibrates, which is obviously a lie because we now know it's the shock collar version because Cutie Cinderella saw it in person and confirmed that it was taped off where she assumes the prongs were. And you wouldn't buy the shock collar version in order to just use a vibrate function that I don't even know if it has, because there's a vibration model, presumably, that you would buy instead. So if it's taped off, that means it's definitely at least the shock collar version of the collar. Now, obviously, we can't ever know 100% for sure, but I think Cutie Cinderella confirming that it was the shock collar version with the prongs taped off means that Hassan tried to hide the fact that it was a shock collar, which means that Kaya, in my opinion, was very likely shocked, especially when you consider how he refused to show the collar on the same stream immediately, instead doing it the next day after he had taped over parts of the collar in order order to obviously hide evidence. Now, to be fair to both sides here at the end, I am going to tell you that his friends all insist that he would never do that, including Austin Show, Will Neff, Cutie Cinderella, and I believe also Maya Higa said that he probably wouldn't. Probably Ludwig did too, since they're buddy-buddy. But it's worth noting that they wouldn't know, would they? I've never once gone to my friends' pets and taken off their collar to look at them. If my friends had a collar that looked like a shock collar, I would say, hey, is that a shock collar? And then they would probably say, no, it's a GPS collar or a vibration collar or what have you. And I would probably not take off the collar to check because I would just take their word for it. So even if they believe Hassan, the chance that they have actually looked at Kaya's collar before this and confirmed that it was a vibrate collar and not a shock collar seems very low to me. And it seems more like they're defending their friend first and then trying to find evidence for why they're defending their friend second. Anyway, that's the drama. Thanks for watching.